Good afternoon and warm greetings to all dignitaries, participants, colleagues, and friends. KANTALOOR SALA, an institution dedicated for higher learning and research in ancient Indian wisdom, welcomes you all to the National Lecture Series on Indian intellectual traditions. And today's topic is MIMAMSA theories and linguistic studies. And today we have very fortunate to have a reputed scholar, Professor PENNA MADHUSUDAN, who is the Vice Chancellor of Kavikulaguru Kalidas Sanskrit University, Ramtek, Maharashtra. I invite the Master of Ceremony for today's session, Dr. Lisa, who is the Assistant Professor of Sanskrit, Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit Academy. Over to Dr. Lisa.
Good afternoon and warm welcome to all once again. KANTALOOR SALA, an institute for higher learning and research in ancient Indian wisdom, has already initiated several academic programs, including seminars, workshops, lectures, colloquiums, online diploma courses in Vedic literature, Darsanas, technical sciences, theatre studies, aesthetics, and poetics in national and international level. The main aim of this institution to make it an institution of excellence in traditional learning and the application of the ancient wisdom relevant to the modern society. This is the 14th lecture of National Lecture Series on Indian intellectual tradition. And here today, the two important sessions in our program. The first one is our lecture. And today's topic is MIMAMSA theories and linguistic studies, delivered by Professor PENNA MADHUSUDAN, the Vice Chancellor of Kavikulaguru Kalidas Sanskrit University, Ramtek, Maharashtra. And the second one is the presidential address given by Professor Murali Madhavan, Director-in-Chief of KANTALOOR SALA. And KANTALOOR SALA cordially invites you all to attend the lecture and also to participate in valuable discussion. And our program started with an invocation and welcome address by Dr. S.V. Aryambika, Assistant Professor in Sanskrit, MG College, Thiruvananthapuram. I invite Dr. S.V. Aryambika for invocation and welcome address.
Ya srishti srashturadya vahati vidhihutam ya havir ya chahotri ye dve kalam vidhatta shruti vishaya guna ya sthita vyapya vishvam ya ma सर्वबीज प्रकृतिरिति यया प्राणिनः प्राणवन्त प्रत्यक्षाभिप्रपन्नस्तनुभिरवतु भक्ताभिरष्टाभिरीश. Respected Chief Guest, Professor PENNA MADHUSUDAN, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Kavikulaguru Kalidas Sanskrit University, Ramtek, Maharashtra, Dr. P.C. Murali Madhavan, Director-in-Chief, KANTALOOR SALA, Dr. Sarita Maheshwaran, Head of the Department, Sanskrit Sahitya, Government Sanskrit College, Punithara, Dr. Pradeep Jyoti, scholars, teachers, students, and my dear friends. Sarvebhyo Sadara Pranama. Indian systems of knowledge contributed much to the studies of language. Modern linguists have been highly motivated and influenced by the approach and methodology of various schools of Indian philosophy. Among them, MIMAMSA, also known as Vakya Shastra, contains several. Today, KANTALOOR SALA, the Institute for Higher Learning and Research in Ancient Indian Wisdom, is organizing an intellectual feast on MIMAMSA theories and linguistic studies as part of National Lecture Series on Indian Intellectual Tradition, LSIIT 2022. lecture will be delivered by a remarkable academic personality, Professor Penna Madhusudanan, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Kavikulaguru Kalidas, Sanskrit University, Ramtek, Maharashtra. Professor Penna Madhusudanan specialized in Yoga Shastra, Nyaya, Yoga and Vedanta philosophy. He has been awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award last year for his Mahakavya on Gulabrao Maharaj. He has 2 Mahakavyas, 8 Laghu Kavya, and 30 translations and edited many books to his credit. Professor Penna is honored with honorary D.Litt by National Sanskrit University, Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh for his unique contribution in Indian philosophy. On behalf of KANTALOOR Shala, I heartily welcome Professor Penna Madhusudanan sir with immense pleasure and respect. This academic event will be presided over by Dr. P.C. Murali Madhavan, the Director-in-Chief of KANTALOOR Shala. Dr. P.C. Murali Madhavan sir is the torchbearer and backbone of all the academic discourses organized by KANTALOOR Shala. On behalf of all, I welcome Dr. P.C. Murali Madhavan sir, my beloved teacher, to this gathering. Dr. Saritya Maheswaran, Head of the Department, Sanskrit Sahitya, Government Sanskrit College, Ponithura, is a known Sanskrit scholar. On behalf of all, I welcome Dr. Saritya Maheswaran, my beloved friend, to this program. Dr. Pradeep Jyotisar holds a key role in organizing such academic events of KANTALOOR Shala. On behalf of all, I welcome Dr. Pradeep Jyotisar to this program. The success of an academic discourse depends upon the live participation of enthusiastic scholars. I welcome one and all who participate in this program. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ajambika ma'am, for this melodious invocation with meaningful verses and beautiful welcome address. And then we move to our next item, that is the presidential address. It is delivered by Professor Murali Madhavan sir, Director-in-Chief, KANTALOOR Shala, and the mastermind in all academic activities of KANTALOOR Shala. We deliver the presidential address now. Welcome, sir.
Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Arudha Praudha Vega Pravijita Pavanam Tunga Tungam Turangam Chelam Neelam Vasana Karatala Vilasat Kanda Kodanda Danda Ragadveshadi Nana Vidhamrga Patali Bhitikrit Bhuda Bharta Kuruvan Akhedalilam Parila Sadumana Kanane Mamagine. Most respected and beloved Professor Penna Madhusudan, the Vice Chancellor of the great university named after Kavikulaguru Mahakavi Kalidas, the office bearers of the KANTALOOR Sabha, Sri Narayanan Poti, Dr. Pradeep Jyoti, Sri Madhavan Nambudri, the scholars attending today's program, Dr. Saritya Maheswaran, Dr. S.V. Aryambika, Srimati C.R. Lisha, Dr. Ajidan, P.I., my dear colleagues in KANTALOOR Shala and Sabha, men of letters participating in this lecture on Zoom platform, beloved students, I welcome you all to this intellectual event, which KANTALOOR Shala regularly organize every month. This is the 14th lecture in the series, Indian Intellectual Tradition. There are 2 more lecture series named Vedic Epistemology and Exegesis and Indian Philosophical Systems. Scholars of international repute are delivering thought-provoking lectures in various fields of Indian intellectual studies. From the very beginning, all lectures and serious academic deliberations are being documented and uploaded in the website and YouTube channel of Kandalur Shala, so as to enable scholars and researchers to refer it as and when required. All the lectures will be published in the form of books with the help of international publishers. As you all are aware, Kandalur Shala, the erstwhile university known as the Nalanda of South India, is under the process of revival. The entire project has been conceived by the founders in 3 phases. In the first phase, as we work now, is in the status of a research institute for higher learning and research in Indian wisdom. After 3 years, in the second phase, it will be lifted to the status of a deemed university, and slowly, within 10 years, this will be a Paka, full-fledged university in the state. The main target of the entire revival project of this university, Kandalur Shala, erstwhile university, is to revitalize the ancient Indian knowledge systems and to bring forth the relevance of their study in the changing society, in the changing world. The eternal values of Indian Darsanas and Shastras should undergo a kind of fusion with the modern streams of knowledge. There should be an attractive fusion of old and new, both knowledges, systems. This effort will be practical and fruitful only with regular and rigorous interdisciplinary studies and research. The modern scientists are mostly ignorant in Sanskrit, and the Sanskrit scholars also in turn do not have knowledge in modern sciences. Scientists, they don't know Sanskrit, and Sanskrit people, they don't know Shastra, that is science. Hence, to fill up this gap, we should train both groups, the scientists and the Sanskritists, to have a face-to-face talk in such fields and open and operate new projects in Sanskrit and science, in various sciences. As we all are aware, without a sound knowledge, like in Sanskrit, sound knowledge in Sanskrit, we cannot dwell deep in Indian sciences like Ayurveda, Vastuvidya, Ganita, etc. From the very beginning of the revival process, in academic projects, Kandalur Shala is very slowly implementing this type of endeavors. Fortunately, Kandalur Shala, in the very beginning of its revival, constituted an advisory board at national level with the leading scholars as members. Within this 9 months of its start, Shala could organize several international lectures, seminars, Kavi Sammelanams, colloquiums on Shastras, symposiums, and workshops on textual and non-textual subjects. Today, we are organizing a lecture on MIMAMSA theories and linguistic studies. We are fortunate to get a scholar of illustrious name and fame. Professor Penna is 2 in 1, that is both Shastra and Sahitya in him. As Sri Harsha said, Sahitya Suguma Vastuni Dridhan Samam Leelayate Bharati. The high-level confidence reflected in the statement of Sri Harsha, now uttered here, is well reflected. The same confidence is reflected with all its propriety in Professor Penna's works also. Dve Vartmani Giram Devi Shastram Kavikulaguru Pratnyopyam Pradibodha of our Alankarikas. Goddess Saraswati has 2 great highways, Rajavithis, for her journey. That is, they are named Shastra and Kavya. The first one has its source as intellect. Shastra's source is intellect. And the second one, that is Kavya or Sahitya works, that is the source is creativity, that is Pratibha. Professor Penna is a beautiful fusion of both Shastra and Sahitya. We can experience the solar hot luster of Shastra, the solar heat of Shastra, and also lunar cool light, very cool breeze light of Kavya. Both we can see in him. The hot of sun and the chillness, the coolness of moonlight, both in Professor Penna. I was fortunate to evaluate his capacities in both in Shastra and Sahitya for selection to the post of university and for awards of Sahitya Akademi. He proved with his high qualities that the adjudicators are right in their judgment. Recently, Professor Penna Madhusudan took charge the office of Vice Chancellor of Kalidasa, Kavikulaguru Kalidasa Sanskrit University. The academic world pray that he should be posted as a regular Vice Chancellor of that esteemed university. Today, Professor Penna will talk on Mimamsa theories and linguistic studies. As it is known to all, Mimamsa is one of the oldest darshana, mainly meant for establishing apaurushayatva of Veda and the performance of sacrifices in various Vedic rituals. Hence, its working field is Vedic literature. Mimamsa's field is Vedic literature. Hence, it is Adiprachina among darshanas, because it is directly connected with the Vedic literature, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and like that. Professor Penna will be mainly discussing how these ancient Mimamsa theories, which are as old as Vedic hymns, the very old theories of Mimamsa, which are directly connected, mainly connected with the Vedas only, how they are solely related to the Vedic mantras. These Vedic Mimamsa theories are useful even in modern disciplines like linguistic studies. Scholars know very well that Mimamsa theories are experienced or rather experimented not only in linguistic studies, but in juridical studies, in jurisprudence, in natural language processes, in the process, digital studies, etc. Actually, in the present scenario, it is the prime duty of KANTALOOR SALA to revive Mimamsa studies in Kerala, since Kerala was the cradle of Mimamsa from ancient times. Mimamsa, particularly we have to mention about Mimamsa when you speak about Kerala. There were 18 Sabhamadhams in Kerala for higher studies in Darshanas and Shastras. They were treated as universities in olden times. In the Sabhamadhams, the major department was Mimamsa. Out of 18 bags full of gold coins as awards to the leading scholars, out of 18 gold bags, 9 bags were given to Mimamsa only. Other balance 9, they are given to Vyakarana, Vedanta, and other Shastra subjects. Apart from these 18 Sabhamadhams, there were several Gurukulams where Mimamsa taught with great significance. In Kogila Sandesha, Uddanda Shastri, author of the Sandesha Kavya, Uddanda Shastrigal, depicts the Payur Nambudri Brahmin family, Payur Bhattas, which served as a university mainly for Mimamsa. I quote that verse, Kinjit Purvam Ranaghala Bhuvi Srimadadhyakshayetha Tan Mimamsa Kavikulaguru, both Bhatta Mimamsa and Prabhakara Mimamsa. Tan Mimamsa Kavikulaguru Satma Punyam Maharshe Vidwad Vrinde Vivadidu Manas Swagade Yatra Shashwal Shashwat Vyakhya Shala Valabhinilayas Tishtade Kira Sangha. What a beautiful depiction in Payur, this Gurukulam. the Payur Brahmin Bhattas family, very big family, just like a university, it is spread in several acres of land. And in the entrance, actually, there will be an entrance test when the people come to that university for study. That entrance in the entrance gate itself, that is not being done by human beings. It is done by shukas, parrots. Parrots, after hearing consequently, continuously, the Shastra Charcha going on in Mimamsa, they studied all Mimamsas, and the parrots, the shukas, they conduct an entrance test to the beginners. And if you are success in that entrance test, then only you will be allowed to enter into that main gate. So such a beautiful description is going on there in the Kogila Sandesha. The illustrious author of Narayaniya Stotra Kavya, Melpatur Narayana Bhatta, who is a nephew of this Payur Bhattas, while giving the detailed account of his Guru Parambara, he mentions his study of Mimamsa under the great stalwart Madhusudan, his own father. The shloka runs like this in Prakriya Sarvaswam of Melpatur. Mimamsa adiswadadat nigamama vigalam madhavacharya varyat tarkam damodararyad apipadabadavim achyudakhyad budhendrat tesham karunya yogat kimapi jagavidamapranavam karmametat bhuyat krishnarpanam me bhavaduja satatam dhirakhare kathayam. Here he refers his authentic study of Mimamsa under his own father Madhusudan. This Madhusudan's Gurukulam, well known for Veda and Mimamsa studies, was beautifully depicted by several contemporary poets. In several kavyams we can come across the depiction of Madhusudan's Gurukulam of Mimamsa. Vasudeva Kavi, a well-known poet, the author of Brahmara Sandesha, gives a beautiful depiction like this. Herambena prathita vibhavam madhudatta dvijendra srimad shishyottaramukharitai astradam shastrabadhai aran narayana kavivachasyanda madhuryanandal vani mandasmita surabhilam yahi padira vadim. If I give description like this, hours together I have to talk about the Mimamsa, the relation of Mimamsa and the Kerala state, the Mimamsakas, the Karmathas in Kerala, the performers of great sacrifices in Kerala. There are so many things to be told, because this we have the paucity of time, and we are all eagerly waiting to hear the great scholar, Professor Madhusudan Penna, the Penna Madhusudan, the authentic talk on Mimamsa theories and linguistic studies. With these some few observations, I beg to remain. I am very happy and I am very thankful that Professor Penna Madhusudan has responded. When he accepted our invitation, he was not Vice Chancellor. But when he came for our lecture in the KANTALOOR Shala, he is occupying the high position, the helm of affairs of the university, that is as Vice Chancellor. So we welcome him, we congratulate him for his all scholarly achievement, and once in and inviting Jisha Sia.
Thank you, Professor P.C. Madhavan sir, for your wealthy, wonderful presidential address about the function of KANTALOOR Shala, and he also shared his dreams about his institution, this institution. Of course, this is a dream of Sanskrit lovers also, and he also given an introduction to our today's topic, and I'm sure about it will help our resource person, Professor Penna Madhusudan, to enter this topic very easily. Our next item is the main item of today's program. I invite Professor Penna Madhusudan for delivering his lecture about Mimamsa theories and linguistic studies. So I hand over this time for you, sir.
Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha. I pay my respects to Honorable Murali Madhavan sir, the President of KANTALOOR Shala, and all the torchbearers of the Shala, and respected Lisha Madam, Aryambika Madam, Manisha and other. So I pay my respects to all these great souls who have kindly given me this opportunity to share my views, especially on a more relevant and very thought-provoking topic. So this shows that Murali Madhavan sir is quite jovial, and he is very active, that he chooses topics and persons. So I deem it my really great luck to that I am chosen for this topic. And recently I have published my Sutra translation of Mimamsa. Maybe that has inspired sir to choose me for this topic. But I tell you, sir, I am totally beholden to you. And I try to do justice to the topic because I am, as many people, I am also afraid of the Mimamsa Darshana, because it is a big ocean compared to the other philosophical systems. We all know that on one side, all the 5 systems, on the other side, only Mimamsa Sutra, because all the other Mimamsa Sutra put together, we may be having 2,700, but only the Mimamsa Sutra, 2,715 Sutra. So I know my limitations and the magnanimity of the Shastra, but still within the given time, we will try to ponder over the major theories of the system so that some inspiration we may get from these studies. And my dear friends, be prepared for a different journey into the Mimamsa Shastra, because as our Honorable President has already spoken of the magnanimity of this Shastra, we all know that Mimamsa is basically connected with the Veda and Vedic rituals. So many people wonder what role it has got to play in the field of linguistics. But this is really a very thought-provoking one, because when the first Mimamsa Sutra says Adhato Dharma Jijnasa, and Dharma has been signified as Chodana Lakshanortho Dharmaha, so automatically a question arises that you say that the Dharma is the summum bonum of the entire Veda, but how that Dharma can be understood and ascertained? So what is the pramana in Dharma? That is the problem. Then the Dharma is explained in the next sutra, Chodana Lakshanortho Dharmaha, and Chodanam Apurvam Bhavanam va Vyakhyasyaamaha. So the commentators say that Chodana is basically Apurva itself, or you can say the Yajatishu Chodana Prayujyate. So the Kriya is also Chodanam, the Pravartanam Chodanam Ahu. So we have different understandings of the word Chodana. But the next few sutras of Jaimini Maharshi, they talk about the Pramana in Dharma. And they say that this Veda is a Swataf Pramana, because Veda is Apaurusheya. So naturally, how can you say that a word and its sense and the relation, syntactic relation between the word and sense, all should be there in the Veda also, as we find in the human composition. So naturally, in our human composition, we first contemplate on something, then we utter the words, and the words carry the meaning. And as Gadadhar Bhattacharya says, that Shabdabodhecha ekapadarthe aparapadarthasya samsargaha samsarga maryadaya bhasate. And that particular samsarga maryada akanksha is explained in the general human compositions. But when it comes to the non-human Vedic compositions, so how can we say that there should also be word, meaning, and syntactic relation? This is the question. But the problem is, if we don't accept it, then the Vedic words become meaningless. But they do convey some meaning. When there is a meaning, the word should be connected with the meaning. So this is the general understanding that they approach the Shabda Pramana. And thus, the next few sutras in the very first pada of Jaimini Mimamsa say that it is on the basis of Shabda that we ascertain the Dharma. So Dharma can be understood only through Shabda Pramana. So this is the basic standpoint of the Mimamsaka. And in this context, when I was studying the Mimamsa Sutra with Bhashya and Vartika, though my understanding is not that very deep, but I tell you that I was really fascinated by the depth of thought in their linguistic approach. Thus we have the Akritya Adhikarana. Thus we have in the third Adhyaya, the Vyakarana Adhikarana. So where the ancient Mimamsaka thinkers had dwelt upon the nature of Varna, then Pada, then Vakya, then Padartha, then Vakyartha. Vakyartha is Shabdabodha. So Varna, Pada, Vakya, Vakyartha, and Vakyartha contributors. That means what really contribute to the sentential cognition, sentence meaning. So these are very important. And you find very typically the Mimamsakas had argued within themselves, and there came into existence few schools like the Bhatta school of Kumarila Bhatta, and the Prabhakara Mata was separate. So we have two different schools, and some other Mimamsaka, later Mimamsakas preferred to follow either of these, and thus the two schools had grown rich. So this is the background that Jaimini Maharshi had composed the Mimamsa Sutra, and he has hinted towards some linguistic basics, linguistic major principles, and then the Shabara Bhashya, the Kumarila Bhatta Vartika, especially the Shloka Vartika, then Prabhakara Bhatta Bruhati. So all these have contributed very significantly to the development of these linguistic studies. So when Murali Madhavan sir had asked me to think on this topic and give few thoughts to the hearers, the audience, I thought that it is very pertinent that we should speak, we should revisit our ancient texts, and we should explore those texts in order to make them very useful in the modern context. Otherwise, I'm afraid that our Shastra, our great contribution of our ancestors would fall into oblivion, would face a natural death. That is the problem. And therefore, I readily accepted the invitation. And now I'll be discussing some of these important topics with you. Friends, I told you that it started with the Varna. So Mimamsa theories and linguistic studies, this is the topic. And here, when we analyze any language, we find that the language has a form, content, and use. Basically, these are the three things that a language is concerned with. One is the structure, that is the form. Second is the content. Third is the usage. So when the three are taken, the modern linguistics deal with some of these, like the syntax, morphological study, phonological study. They actually, these three deal with the form, and the semantics is the study of content, and pragmatics is the study of use of language. Now, Mimamsa has significantly focused on all these aspects of language. Very typically, you find the ancient Mimamsakas had in at great length, they have discussed all these, like syntactic, then morphological aspect, phonological one, semantics, and pragmatics. So I told you in the Vyakarana Adhikarana, for example, in the third Adhyaya of Mimamsa, we find whether all the purposes of Vyakarana that Mahabhashyakara Patanjali had shown in his Paspashanika are relevant or not. So a prima facie view appears in the Vyakaranadhikarana that these are not at all useful, because without them also, doing away with all these purposes also, the purpose of Bhasha, language, can continue. So when the purpose can be served without the Vyakarana, then Vyakarana can be ignored. So that is the prima facie oppositional view. And in the Shabrabhashya and the Kumarila Bhatta Vartika also, they have dealt with this topic, saying that all the purposes shown by Patanjali are not baseless. We have to understand them in proper context. Thus, Kumarila Bhatta had referred to ancient grammarians, then he had substantiated the theory of Mimamsa. So basically, when we are studying Mimamsa, one aspect is that the Mimamsa Shastra should deal with the interpretation of Vedic sentences, basically the Brahmana sentences. So when they have taken the Taittiriya Brahmana or Shatapatha Brahmana, so when they are discussing these Brahmana Vakyas, basically it is ritualistic. But we should bear in mind that Mimamsa is not just a text on rituals, though it is a text on rituals, not just rituals. It has several other things to offer. And I would like to bring to your notice, especially the young researchers, young enthusiasts, that if you yourself study the Mimamsa Shastra under an able teacher, you will find that a new avenue is open to a great world of linguistics, a great world of theology, a great world of sentence interpretation, and it will take you into the marvels of interpretation. Really, we should appreciate that. But for that, we require to study the text. That means ancient basic texts like the Sutra, Bhashya, Shlokavartika, Tantravartika, Tuptika, and other texts like Parthasarathi Mishra and other texts. So we have to study them, not just Arthasangraha and Mimamsa Paribhasha, but other texts also. If we study, we find that they have got a lot to tell us about our own understanding of language. And we all know that basically language can be understood at different levels. That language at the usage level is sentence. That's why the Vyakarana also says that it is Akhanda Vakya Jati Spota. Though not all Mimamsakas agree with that spota. Mandana Mishra, in support of spota, he says, but Kumarila Bhatta does not speak about it. He doesn't accept it. So spota is a very interesting topic, that the spota vada in the Bhartrhari text in the Bhushan-sara last chapter also, we find that our ancient grammarians also, they dwelt upon that. They wanted to explain the spota theory. And on the other side, very typically, Shankaracharya also referred to this in his Brahma Sutra Bhashya, that is Shabdadeva Pramitaha Taduparya Vibadarayana Sambhavat. So here in the Pramitadhikarana and Devatadhikarana, you find that he refers to the spota, but he, in very clear terms, refutes the spota theory. He says it is unnecessary, and when the purpose can be served without spota, we need not accept it. That is his understanding, and he is very firm, that is Advaita. Similarly, the other thinkers also have explained the spota theory. So Vakya is the uppermost one. Because of that, communication is made. But when you analyze the Vakya, all the sentences are composed of words, because we all know that words constitute sentences. So therefore we come to the words. Then when we analyze the word, we find that there are the Varna, and much has been discussed. Like we find that R.C. Dwivedi, then Purushottama Bilimoria. So they have also worked on the concept of Varna. See, because people generally translate that as letter, some people prefer to translate that as sound. Some people say it is morpheme. So naturally, morpheme, letter, then sound, when all these are available, which is closer to that, etc., that's a big discussion. And Billy Moria has very clearly discussed all these points that Varna should be the sound. And he has pointed out how many of the other scholars have made the blunder by translating the word Varna very wrongly. But we all know that after all, words are strings of phonemes, but arranged in specific sequence. Thus, we have rasa giving one meaning, rasa. Rasa means it can be sentiment, it can be the flavor of any dish, rasa. But when you rearrange that in a specific order, like Sara, Saraha, it means a lake, Sarovaraha, Saraha. So thus we find that the Varna arranged in a word in a particular order give a particular sense. So these words again form the sentences. And keeping this in view, the Mimamsakas have framed the theory that the universal is the word meaning. This is the basic theory. Universal means here jati. Jati is of course akriti, according to the Mimamsaka, not according to the Nyayika. So the universal, that means jati, is the word meaning. That means padarthaha jatireva. Then a natural and permanent word sense relation is present as pratyaya, pratyayaka, pratyaya, pratyayaka. So this is the relation between word and sense. Outpattikastu shabdartha sambandha. Then how we get the sense from the words? When the words are supported by akanksha, yogyata, sanidhi, then a sentence meaning is obtained. Then communication in the Vyakaranaadhikarana, very clearly Bhashyakara has stated that it Tattva Avabodha Shabdanam Nasti Vyakaranadrute is the Bhartruhari concept, Vyakarana. But it is stated there that without that also, Vruddha Vyavahara is enough for that. And through Vruddha Vyavahara, that means through the way the elders use the words, we can get the knowledge of communication. So communication need not have the base of grammar. That is his understanding. But later he has refuted the idea saying that Vyakarana is essential not for communication. He says for the sadhu asadhu shabda viveka. So sadhu asadhu shabda viveka can be obtained from the grammar. That's what our Bhushanasara text says, that it is sadhutva vishaya smritihi. Ime shabdaha atra sadhavaha. Ime shabdaha asminnarthe asadhavaha. So this kind of ascertainment you can obtain from the grammar. Therefore, grammar, what does it do? It is dharma niyamah kriyate. Dharmaya niyamah kriyate. So after all, the role of Vyakarana in communication is to ascertain what is dharma, adharma, especially when it comes to communication. Then bhavana, this is bhatta. Bhavana pradhanaka shabdabodha. Bhavana mukhya visheshaka shabdabodha or bhavana pradhana shabdabodha. But slightly differing from bhatta, Prabhakara say that it is karya vishayaka, or you can say karya mukhya visheshaka shabdabodha. And very popularly, when it comes to the sentence cognition, sentential cognition, the bhatta have their understanding as abhitanvayavada and the Prabhakara have the anvitabhidhana. And we know now that the Nyayika also are in favor of the abhitanvayavada, though Jayanta Bhatta in his Nyayamanjari presents another view. Most popularly it is believed that Nyayika follow the abhitanvayavada, and anvitabhidhanavada, the Mimamsakas and some of the Vedantins also follow the anvitabhidhanavada. Now getting into the details, what is Varna? What is Varna Sthiti? Now Varna, we all know, that is the foundational part of the word. As you can say, atoms are the building blocks of the universe. Similarly, you can say that Varna is the building block of the word. And very typically in the Yoga Bhashya, Vyasa Maharshi says that Vak Varneshu Arthavati. he says, Vak Varneshu Arthavati. That means, after all, the speech is meaningful coming to the Varna, the phoneme level, and it is permanent. The Varna is permanent. Though Bhartrhari does not accept it, in the Vakyapadiya we know, Padena Varna Vidyante, Varneshu Avayava Nacha. So when he says, he is very clear that it is all for the sake of the grammar that we have classified all this, but ultimately there are neither words nor phonemes in that, only the Akhanda Vakya Jata, because it is essential for the communication. Sentence or word is a collection of sounds or spoken letters. With this collection, the word meaning is associated. Thus, one speaks, other person hears and understands. Therefore, no spota is required other than the or apart from the Varna. So this is the basic, very interesting theory of Mimamsaka, that no spota is required. The Varna are sufficient. Anvaya Vyatirikabhyam Varna eva Artha Upagamaya Paryapta. Phonemes leave memory traces. This Kumarila Bhatta says that how can you explain the phenomenon that the Varna which disappear give you the sense? For that he says, see, when Gauhu, the word is occurred, Gakara, Aukara, Visarga, Visarjaniya, then he says that each one is connected with the next. So thus, when the entire word is uttered, the first phoneme leaves an impression, second, third, thus everyone follows, and all these impressions, they get stored in the brain. So earlier ones together with the last phoneme convey the meaning. So this is the Varna Pratyayika Vada. This is Kumarila Bhatta, his standpoint on the Varna. But when it comes to Pada and Padartha, we know that how they do with this Shabda, Pada. What is Pada Artha? We say when Gauhu, Gauhu means a cow. But is it the individual cow, or only the figure, or the class of cowness? Which is it referring to? Because when I say Gam Anaya, one cow is brought. But when I say Gauhu na hantavyaha, it means no cow should be killed. What does it mean? That means wherever you find cowness, you should not kill it. The prohibition applies there. So therefore, sometimes it is Jati, sometimes it is Akriti, sometimes it is Vyakti. That is the problem. So thus, the Gautama Maharshi Nyaya Sutra also tells us that Jatya, Kriti, Vyaktaya Padartha, all the three. Though the earlier Nayayikas say that Jati, Visishta, Vyakti should be the Padartha. But in the Mimamsa Shastra, Jati is not different from Akriti. Jati meva Akritim Prahu, Vyaktir Akaryate Yaya. This is Shlokavartika, which says that Jati is Akriti. So don't differentiate. So when you are saying that Jativada, it means Akritivada only, then Vyakti is separated. Now the problem is how that particular Vyakti means here specific individual. So how you get the sense of Vyakti from the Jati? If word refers to Jati, how can you get the sense of individual? They say for that the word has two significant word powers. One is Abhidha, that is the direct word power. Second is Lakshana, the implication. So when we have two powers, the Abhidha refers to Jati, and then the Lakshana will function, then the Jati Visishta Vyakti, that sense is obtained. Some people say it is Akshepa, some people say it is Lakshana. What is the difference? Akshepa means Anumana Pramana, some people say, or Arthapatti. In either case, there is not much difference according to Mimamsaka. But Jati is the direct meaning of the word. This is very significant understanding. Thus, Brahmanaha Nahantavyaha. That means any Brahman, wherever you find the class. So thus, in Mimamsa context, especially in the context of rituals, when they use the word, it refers to the class, Jati. And sometimes it has to refer to the individual. So thus, both are possible. Then Nayayika take the different standpoint. So, Outpattikaha Shabdartha Sambandhaha, the word and sense are thus naturally connected. But when it comes to the Bhatta, they say word first refers to jati. It is the direct meaning, and word has the abhidha shakti. Jater astitva nastitve nahi kaschid vivakshati nityatvat. This is Kumar Bhatta's Akritya Adhikarana Vartika. So it says jati is nitya. So we are not talking about eternity or non-eternity of jati. Vyaktehe tehi visheshane. Astitva nastitva, they pertain to the vyakti, not to the jati. So they differentiate between that. Then when jati is there, direct abhidha is sufficient. Then when vyakti, that sense is to be obtained, now you get to the lakshana. Thus he has clearly stated. And in between, Jayanta Bhatta talks about one Tatparya Shakti also, and Gangesh Upadhyaya also refers to that. Then the Prabhakara say that abhidha Shakti is sufficient, but in the jati it is Jnata Satta, Jnata Upayujyate. And in Vyakti, it is Swarupa Satta, Kubja Shakti, they say. This is also very important addition of Prabhakara. Then we find a very important analysis of Vakya. What is sentence? Bhashya says Vishesha Vritti Vakyam. Then Sutra, the Jaimini Sutra itself says Arthaikatvad Ekam Vakyam, Sakamksham Chet. So a Vakya definitely presumes the syntactic expectancy between the words constituting that particular Vakya. So when there is a sentence, there are words, and those words in a sentence are syntactically related, then only they can be called as Vakya. Ekarthav padasamuho Vakyam. Samhatya arthamatram abhidadati padani Vakyam. This is also Bhashya, out of which the earlier Mimamsakas had derived the Abhitanvayavada. Evam ekartham anekam padam. Then Vakyartha, here the Parthasarathi Mishra, Shastra Deepika have different Anvita Vidhana, Abhitanvayavada. So we have the Vakya Bheda concept, Ekavakyata concept, how the sentences have a kind of break, that unconnectedness of the sentences, and the sentential uniformity, connectivity. All these are discussed in the Mimamsa Shastra. Sameshu Vakya Bhedasya, he said, Pruthak Bhavat Vakyam Bhedayati Vakya Bhedaha in the Bhashya. So it's not that the sentence is split because of so many senses. He says Aneka Vidhitaha Vakya Bhedaha Bhavati. So that Vidhi only makes the split of sentence. Arthaikatvad Ekam Vakyam Sakamksham. So this is the thing. And in the sentential cognition, that Vakyartha, we have two theories, Abhitanvayavada, Anvitabhidhanavada. I just tell you in brief, as the time does not permit. So, Padani Swartham Abhidadati. Then from Pada, you get the Artha. Then there is the Samsarga. For example, Ghatam means you get the Ghatatva, that is the Swartha. Then Karmatva from the Vibhakti. And the sense of Ghatam will be Ghatatviya Karmata. That means the Karmata pertaining to Ghata, Ghatatva, Ghatatviya Karmata. Then how you get the Ghata sense? I told you from Akshepa or from Anumana. So Akanksha, Yogyata, Asati, these are explained in the Tarka Sangraha and other texts also. These are required to get the sentential meaning. Then there will be a unified meaning of a sentence. Then Tatparya. Tatparya is not just Vachyartha, it is beyond that. Then the Abhitanvayavada says that the meaning of a sentence is the sum total of the individual meanings conveyed by the constituent words. So this is the Abhitanvayavada of the Bhattas, and we have the Anvitabhidhanavada of the Prabhakaras also. And Prabhakara Bhatta very strongly supports the Anvitabhidhanavada because, see, it is Vakyam Vakyarthe Vyutpattimat. This is the Abhitanvayavada. This is the Anvitabhidhanavada. If Padasya Padarthe Anvayaha, it is Abhitanvayavada. This is the basic thing. And thus we have the Vakyasya Vakyarthe, Padasya Padarthe, Anvayaha. This Anvaya is the Samsarga. And very important. Anvitabhidhanavada had come into existence, which had found great support from other thinkers like Vedantins also. Words express a meaning, abhidhana, as part of the sentence, and grammatically connected with one another. This anvaya should be there. So then they only imply an action. This is kriya pradhana. Then connected word meanings constitute the sentence meaning. So lot is to be discussed here. Lot of thought is given to all these ideas. But I told you, I beg your pardon, that because of dearth of time, we have to stop here. And I once again thank the organizers for giving me this great opportunity. And if time permits, I'll definitely come to you once again to discuss all these matters in detail. So with these words, I conclude, and I thank once again. Namaste.
Thank you, sir, for this amazing lecture about Mimamsa and linguistics. And he presented his topic very well for a very simple style by the lecture of PowerPoint, with the help of PowerPoint presentation. We move on the next item to the presentation of citation to Professor Penna Madhusudanan. Today's speaker is given by Dr. Sahitya Akademi, Head of the Department of Sanskrit Sahitya, Government Sanskrit College, Tripunithura. I invite Dr. Sahitya Akademi to present the citation to Professor Penna Madhusudanan.
Sarvebhyo namo namaha. With great appreciation and respect, KANTALOOR Shala highly commends Professor Penna Madhusudanan for his outstanding contribution and exemplary work in Vedic literature as a Sanskrit scholar, historian, writer, and teacher. Professor Penna Madhusudanan, MA PhD D.Lit. Honorable, is currently the Vice Chancellor of Kavikulaguru Kalidas Sanskrit University, Ramtek, Maharashtra. He specializes in Yoga Shastra, Nyaya, Yoga, and Vedanta philosophy. He has been awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award last year for his Mahakavya on Gulabrao Maharaj. He has 2 Mahakavyas, 8 Laghukavya, and 30 translations, and edited many books to his credit. Professor Penna is honored with honorary D.Lit by National Sanskrit University, Tirupati, for his Andhra Pradesh, for his unique contribution in Indian philosophy. Professor Penna's name has been awarded for the Sahitya Akademi Award 2019 for his Sanskrit epic, Pradnya Chakshum. He has penned complete biography of Sant Kulabrao Maharaj through a Sanskrit epic, Pradnya Chakshum. He had also conducted research on books written by Gulabrao Maharaj. He is spreading the thoughts and principles of Sant Kulabrao Maharaj through lectures and speeches. Professor Penna has mastery over Sanskrit language. He is a researcher of Indian and Western philosophies. He is expert of Vedanta, Nyaya Shastra, and Yoga Shastra. Professor Penna is proficient in Darshan Shastra, Sanskrit language, literature, grammar, different Shastras. He himself is a poet and penned 2 epics like Kavya Kanta Charidam and Pradnya Chakshum. In addition, he had written a number of Sanskrit poems. Professor Penna's research papers have been published in a number of journals in Telugu, Marathi, English languages. He also published 27 books and research papers in different national and international conferences. Professor Penna had delivered keynote addresses and called as expert advisor in a number of conferences. His CD on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Dasha Upanishad, Yoga Shastra, Advaita Vedanta, etc. have been released. Professor Penna has been awarded with Yuva Vipaschit, Sanskrit Pandit, Pandit Satbalekar Puraskar, Pandit Latkar Award, Somnath Trust of Gold Medal, etc. The Tirumala Peetham has established by Bhagavad Ramanujacharya in 10th century conferred Shastra Ratnagara on him. He has traveled in the Netherlands and was member of the Indian delegation to Canada in World Sanskrit Conference 2018. He knows 6 languages, including German, and has made DVDs so far on yoga, Indian philosophy, and Sanskrit literature. This citation is presented to Professor Penna Madhusudan on Saturday, the 12th February 2022 at Thiruvananthapuram, signed by Professor P.C. Murali Madhavan, Director-in-Chief, KANTALOOR SALA. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddhameshwara ma'am, for to present the citation. And this is the time of concluding today's program. First of all, let me take this opportunity to congratulate all the members of KANTALOOR SALA for this successful event. And next, I express my thanks to Professor Penna Madhusudanan, Vice Chancellor of Kavikulaguru Kalidas Sanskrit University, Ramtek, Maharashtra, who was the keynote speaker at today's event, shared a number of simple and thought-provoking points on his paper. The way he looked at the study of language in relation to metaphysical theory is very exemplary. On behalf of KANTALOOR SALA and all scholars gathered here, I express my gratitude for your meaningful talk. Thank you very much, sir. And next, I express my gratitude to Professor P.C. Murali Madhavan, sir, Director-in-Chief, KANTALOOR SALA. I would like to thank him on my behalf and on behalf of everyone present here for his active coordination and academic activities. And I would like to thank Dr. S.V. Aryambika, who gave the invocation and welcome address. Thank you, ma'am. Then I thank Dr. Sadabodha Maheshwaran, who presented citation of Professor Penna Madhusudanan. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I would like to thank the authorities of this event for giving me the opportunity to be a part of such a great event. And my thanks to everyone gathered here. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Sarvesham swastirbhavatu, Sarvesham shantirbhavatu, Sarvesham purnam bhavatu, Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, Sarve santu niramaya, Sarve santu niramaya, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sarvebhyo namaskaraha.
Thank you, ma'am.